Now, I'm a simple man. I like cars that go vroom, steaks that go moo, and films that go kaboom. And let me tell you, nothing gets the petrolhead blood pumping like a good old-fashioned car chase, especially when it features a classic muscle car. Those chrome bumpers, those roaring engines, those tire-shredding turns, it's enough to make a grown man weep with joy. Over the years, Hollywood has given us some truly spectacular car chases, but the ones that truly stand the test of time, the ones that get etched into our memories like a blueprint for automotive awesomeness, well, they usually involve a healthy dose of Detroit steel. So buckle up, petrol heads, as we take a high-octane trip down memory lane and revisit the most iconic car chases in film history, featuring the legendary muscle cars that have captured our imaginations and left tire marks on our hearts. Welcome to our countdown of the most iconic car chases in film history, featuring the legendary muscle cars that have captured our imaginations and ignited our adrenaline. Bullitt, Steve McQueen, San Francisco, and a Highland Green 1968 Ford Mustang GT 390. Could you get a more iconic trio? I think not. This wasn't just a car chase, it was a ballet of horsepower, a symphony of screeching tires, a masterclass in cinematic tension. Queen, the epitome of cool, behind the wheel of that growling Mustang, chasing down those black-suited baddies through the undulating streets of San Francisco. It's the stuff of legend. And speaking of legends, that Mustang, it was practically a character in its own right. The way it roared through the gears, the way it hugged those corners, the way it seemed to leap over those hills, it was pure automotive poetry in motion. And that sound, that glorious guttural V8 roar that echoed through the streets of San Francisco, it was like the soundtrack to every petrolhead's dream. They just don't make them like that anymore, do they? Cars these days are all computers and sensors and safety features. But that Mustang, it was raw, it was visceral, it was a mechanical masterpiece that demanded respect. And McQueen, he knew how to handle it. He wasn't just driving that car, he was one with it, man and machine moving in perfect harmony. You know, they say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and after Bullitt hit the silver screen, every filmmaker worth their salt was trying to replicate that magic. But let's be honest, there's only one Bullitt, and that chase scene, it's the benchmark, the gold standard, the automotive equivalent of the Mona Lisa. It's a timeless classic that continues to inspire and thrill generations of petrolheads. So the next time you're feeling the need for speed, do yourself a favor and revisit Bullitt. Just try not to get too many speeding tickets trying to recreate those legendary stunts. Now let's talk about a different kind of beast, a car forged in the fires of a post-apocalyptic wasteland, the 1974 Pursuit Special, better known as the Interceptor, from Mad Max. Picture this, a world gone mad ruled by leather-clad biker gangs where fuel is scarce and violence is the only law. In this desolate landscape, one man, Max Rockatansky, a highway patrolman on the edge, seeks vengeance behind the wheel of the most menacing machine ever to grace the silver screen. The Interceptor wasn't just a car, it was a weapon, a symbol of Max's rage and determination. That supercharged V8, the thundering growl as it tore across the Australian outback, it was enough to send shivers down your spine. And those chases, Max, pushed to the brink, pursuing those crazed gangs across the desolate highways, it was like a high-octane ballet of destruction. Mad Max wasn't your typical Hollywood action flick. It was raw, it was gritty, it was a low-budget masterpiece that redefined the genre. And that Interceptor, it was the perfect vehicle for this dystopian world. It was brutal, it was unforgiving, it was a rolling testament to mankind's capacity for both creation and destruction. But there was a certain beauty in its ugliness, a raw power that drew you in. The way it roared across the screen, all supercharger whine and tire smoke, it was impossible to look away. And when Max finally caught up with those villains, well, let's just say justice was served with a side of high-octane fury. So if you're looking for a film that's more than just explosions and car chases, a film that will stay with you long after the credits roll, then fire up Mad Max and witness the legend of the Interceptor. Now, let's talk about a car that's as American as apple pie and moonshine, the General Lee, a 1969 Dodge Charger from the good old boys' stomping ground of Hazzard County. This wasn't just a car, it was a symbol of rebellion, a four-wheeled middle finger to Boss Hogg and his corrupt cronies. With those Dixie horns blaring and that Confederate flag proudly displayed on the roof, the General Lee became a pop culture icon, a symbol of Southern charm and good old-fashioned fun. The Dukes of Hazzard, those lovable rogues, they were always sticking it to the man, outsmarting Boss Hogg and his bumbling deputies at every turn. And the General Lee, it was their trusty steed, their partner in crime, always there to help them outrun trouble and deliver a heaping helping of justice, Hazzard style. And those jumps. Every episode, it seemed like the General Lee was soaring through the air, defying gravity and the laws of physics. It was like watching a four-wheeled ballet, a symphony of squealing tires and roaring engines. And you know what? It was glorious. Now, I'm not saying you should go out and try to recreate those jumps yourself. Those stunt drivers, they were professionals, and those cars, well, let's just say they were built for one thing: to fly. The General Lee, it wasn't just a car, it was a symbol of freedom, of living life on your own terms. It represented the rebellious spirit that lives in all of us, the desire to break free from the mundane and embrace the thrill of the open road. Now let's fast forward to the 21st century, where muscle car madness collided with modern tuning culture in The Fast and the Furious. This wasn't your grandpa's car chase. This was a high-octane symphony of nitrous-injected fury, a ballet of souped-up imports and classic American muscle. And at the heart of it all was Brian O'Connor, the undercover cop caught between two worlds, behind the wheel of a 1970 Dodge Charger RT. Now, I'll admit, I was skeptical at first. All that neon and techno music, it wasn't exactly my cup of tea. But then, I saw that Charger. Black as night with a supercharger sticking out of the hood like a middle finger to the establishment. And when that Hemi roared to life, I knew I was in for a treat. The Charger wasn't just a car in The Fast and the Furious. It was a symbol of Brian's journey. He started out as a wide-eyed rookie, but as he got to know Dom and his crew, as he got a taste of the racing life, he started to change. He became more confident, more reckless, and that Charger, it evolved with him. The Fast and the Furious might not have been everyone's cup of tea, but it brought car culture roaring into the 21st century. And that Charger, it stole the show, proving that even a classic can hang with the best of them. Now let's talk about a car that needs no introduction, a car that's as synonymous with car chases as Steve McQueen in a Highland Green Mustang, Eleanor, the 1973 Ford Mustang from Gone in 60 Seconds. Now I know what you're thinking, Jeremy, they remade that film, and you're right, they did. But let's be honest, Nicolas Cage behind the wheel of a classic Mustang? It's like putting a chimpanzee in a tuxedo. It might look good on paper, but it's never going to end well. No, when I talk about Gone in 60 Seconds, I'm talking about the original, the 1974 cult classic that gave us one of the most iconic car chases ever filmed. This wasn't just a car chase, it was a 40-minute symphony of destruction, a ballet of twisted metal and roaring engines that left a trail of broken cars and bewildered bystanders in its wake. And at the heart of it all was Eleanor, that customized 1973 Mustang. A car that was as much a character in the film as any of the actors. The way it roared through the streets, the way it leaped over obstacles, the way it seemed to cheat death at every turn. It was pure automotive magic. Now I know what you're thinking. Jeremy, that chase scene was absolute madness. They destroyed half the cars in California. And you're right, they did. But that's what made it so brilliant. It was over the top, it was ridiculous, it was a glorious celebration of automotive mayhem. Gone in 60 Seconds and Eleanor, they weren't just about car chases, they were about the love of the automobile, the passion that drives us to push these machines to their limits. They showed us that cars aren't just modes of transportation, they're works of art, expressions of our individuality, extensions of ourselves. So, there you have it, folks. A high-octane journey through some of the most iconic car chases in cinematic history, featuring the classic muscle cars that made our hearts race and our engines roar. From the streets of San Francisco to the dusty back roads of Hazzard County, these chases have left an indelible mark on our collective memory, reminding us of the power of cinema to transport us to other worlds, to make us feel the adrenaline rush of the open road, and to celebrate the raw beauty and power of classic American muscle. These chases have not only defined moments in film history, but have also cemented the legacy of classic muscle cars in our hearts. Each of these iconic vehicles brought something special to the screen, delivering unforgettable thrills and timeless excitement. Thanks for joining us on this high-speed ride through cinema's greatest car chases. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more epic content from the world of classic cars and beyond. Until next time, keep the pedal to the metal and the wheels on the road.